Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Jason Uchida. I'm a doctor of naturopathic medicine and your host of this program. Welcome to Island Wellness, a program designed to educate you about naturopathic medicine. I graduated from the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon in 1988. I've been practicing naturopathic medicine in Hawaii for the past 21 years. Naturopathic physicians are licensed in the state of Hawaii as primary care providers, just like medical doctors. Let me give you a brief introduction to naturopathic medicine. Naturopathic medicine is a primary care system founded on the honored universal principle that the human body has the mechanisms in it to heal itself, no matter what the current status may be. Therefore, the human body is the ultimate healer. A physician's true role is to support this process by using modalities of treatment that work in harmony with the body's natural healing ability. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, practiced these same principles thousands of years ago. Well, that's enough about me and naturopathic medicine. Let's find out if naturopathic medicine works. To help illustrate this, I typically ask a patient to share his or her experience with naturopathic medicine so that you can get a better understanding of how this safe and effective form of medicine works. Today's topic is about the most common, tenacious, and bothersome skin problems that we have in America today, eczema. Dependent on the medical textbook you read, eczema affects between 6 to 12% of us on a regular basis. Its definition in Greek means to boil out. At its worst, this is exactly how the skin of eczema may look. The skin gets swollen, red, bumpy, and spongy with serum. This serum weeps out of the scratched and aggravated skin. When the serum dries, it will harden into a crust. When it becomes a chronic problem, the skin may become scaly or crack open into painful fissures. Individuals suffering from chronic eczema who scratch constantly will develop several layers of thickened, hard skin with a gray or black pigment. The eczema can occur in patches and affect one small area, or when it's at its worst, it can cover the entire body. Eczema usually affects the folds of the body, such as the inner elbows, wrists and ankles, backs of the knees and legs, the buttocks, and behind the neck and ears. But when eczema is at its worst, no area of skin will be left untouched. Typically, a person with eczema suffers most from an unquenchable, voluptuous itch. It is the maddening itch of eczema that drives people crazy. The itch typically intensifies when it's hot and humid and at night while trying desperately to sleep. It is during these moments that the itch can be so intense that the victim scratches until the skin is shredded into a tattered rag of open wounds, weeping of serum and blood. What makes eczema one of the most frustrating skin conditions is that conventional medicine has no cure for it. That's right. If you have eczema and you ask your medical doctor if the treatment will cure it, he will tell you no. You ask, why doesn't conventional medicine have a cure for eczema? Simply put, it really is not trying to cure eczema. Let's find out why conventional medicine treatment completely misses the mark on providing true help for people suffering from eczema. And if you have eczema and wish to eliminate it completely, stay with me to find out how. According to medicine, immunology, and science, eczema is caused because there are toxins inside the body. Our immune system responds to these toxins, which are also called antigens, with what is called a type 3 hypersensitivity immune system response. Basically, in the type 3 immune system response, the immune system sends out immune system cells called antibodies. These antibodies are like security guards and janitors. They gather up all of these toxins or antigens, grabs hold of them, and escorts it out of the body through the skin. As the antibodies corral the antigens, they fix complement to the toxins. Complement is like a chemical distress signal, a call for help, a rescue flare that guides other immune system cells to the toxins. Complement is like what jet plane fighters use to guide their missiles to its target. The jet fighters paint an infrared marker on its target to guide its missile to the tank or building it wishes to destroy. Complement guides other immune system cells called polymorphonuclear leukocytes, otherwise known as PMNs, to the targeted poisons. When the polymorphonuclear leukocytes find the antigens, they release chemotactic factors which act like acids that destroy the targeted toxins. And just like the missiles from the jet plane fighters damaged more than its intended target, the polymorphonuclear leukocytes and its chemotactic factors also accidentally damage other structures or tissue nearby. In the case of eczema, collateral tissue damage from the type 3 immune system reaction produces the red, inflamed, bumpy, itchy, serum weeping skin. So in essence, eczema is actually a good thing. Eczema is the result of the body's immune system doing its job in eliminating poisons out of the body through the skin. However, this skin problem irritates us and it looks really bad, so we don't want it. So we go to the medical doctor for relief. Because medicine, immunology, and science understands that eczema is the result of our immune system removing toxins through the largest elimination organ of the body, the skin, conventional medicine uses corticosteroids and other immunosuppressive medications that stop the immune system from removing these poisons through the skin. When we use these immunosuppressive drugs, the eczema subsides because the immune system has been stopped in performing its job by the medication. However, when the immunosuppressive medications wear off, or its use has stopped, what happens to the eczema? That's right, it comes right back, and usually worse than its initial onset. Why worse? Because now there are more toxins inside the body than before, because the immunosuppressive medications have kept the toxins inside the body and the level of toxins have been accumulating. And that is why conventional medicine doesn't have a cure for eczema. It chooses to stop the toxins from being released. Conventional medicine typically dances around the cause of eczema, creating a false sense of hope that you will have to pay the piper sooner or later. And most people who suffer from eczema learn that using cortisone and other immunosuppressive medications lured them unsuspectedly into a tangled mess of escalating disaster after disaster. Naturopathic medicine looks to identify what these toxins are, then eliminate them from the body, and prevent its re-entry and or reproduction from within. This would be similar to draining a dirty pool of water. After draining the dirty pool of water, one shouldn't refill the pool with more dirty, filthy water. Otherwise, it will require additional draining, as with what happens to individuals that suffer from chronic eczema. In a nutshell, that is how naturopathic medicine works in cases of eczema. Identify the cause of the illness, address and fix the problem. So let's find out how naturopathic medicine stacks up against the incurable eczema. Joining us today is my patient Fran. Fran is going to share her story of the nightmare she lived through with eczema. She'll tell you how bad her eczema was, what type of conventional medicine treatment she received without relief, and what we did to help her beat this biblical-like skin affliction with naturopathic medicine. Hi Fran, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Uchida. Thank you.
Sorry to keep you on hold so long. Tell us, when did the eczema first affect you and where did it appear?
You know, I first noticed it around September of 2009, and it appeared as I had a small, maybe dime size spot on my temple, as well as one on my left rib.
All right. After you started to see the eczema come on, what did you do?
I didn't know it was eczema. I just thought it was a little bit of rash, maybe from my sports bra because I exercise a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I really ignored it, just thinking it would go away.
Oh, okay. When did you decide to seek treatment?
Later on, maybe around late October of that year, same year, it was starting to spread now.
Okay, and that's what led you to seek help.
Yeah.
What was the treatment and what was the outcome?
You know, it was, it looked like a bunch of mosquito bites on my back, in the middle of my back. And so I went to my dermatologist, and she gave me some ointment or some cream. I can't remember which one it was now, but some kind of steroid cream.
Okay.
And she told me to use that for a few days, and I did. I used it all up, and nothing happened. In fact, the next time I went to see her, it was worse.
Okay. So it got worse.
Yeah, it got worse.
Where did the eczema start to spread at that time?
It was right in the middle of my back,
Okay.
on the upper, and then on my lower back.
Okay.
So 2 patches. I had 2 large patches now, hand-sized patches.
Okay. And this was about October now.
Yeah, getting into November now.
Okay.
Already.
All right.
Mhm.
And then what did the medical doctor choose to do at that time?
I didn't see my medical doctor for a while. Actually, I
Okay.
continued to see my dermatologist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And she gave me another ointment.
Okay.
And so we tried that, and it just got redder and uglier. And I would continue to see her like maybe another 10 days or so. I'd go back to see her.
Okay.
And it was just getting worse and worse. And she would finally say to me, "I have no idea what this is.
Uh-huh.
So let's try this."
Okay.
And so she actually gave me a few days of prednisone. She gave me 3 days of prednisone, and she even when she gave it to me, she said, "You know, this is something that I don't really like to prescribe, but yours looks really severe.
Okay.
So let's try just a really, really small dosage of prednisone
Okay.
for 3 days."
Okay. So this was oral medication she
Oral,
was giving
yeah.
you.
Uh-huh.
All right. You remember what the dosage was?
I wrote it down, actually. It was 3 days, so it was 3, they were all 5 milligram pills. So the first day I took 15 milligrams, so 3 pills.
Okay.
And then the second day I took 2, so 10 milligrams. And then the third day I took 1, so
Okay.
5 milligrams.
Okay. What happened to the eczema?
Nothing.
Didn't get better?
No, it didn't. It didn't get better at all. And so I went back to her, and now the patches were on both sides of my temples, and they were still spreading on my back, and they were ugly, ugly red and really, really itchy.
And when was this about?
This was in early December.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what did the dermatologist choose to do at this
So
time?
then she said, "Okay, well, let's try a longer dosage."
Okay.
So she gave me 15 days of prednisone and Allegra, which is, I guess, an antihistamine. I think it's an antihistamine.
Right, exactly.
So I took the 15 days of prednisone, and I took the Allegra, and it seemed to calm down.
Okay.
You know, the itching was kind of calming down. The redness was kind of fading. You know, it was turning brown instead of bright red.
Red, okay.
And, you know, my husband is the one who I would say, "What does it look like?" Because
right.
I couldn't really tell.
Okay.
And so he would be the one to tell me, "Oh, it looks better." You know, so he was kind of my gauge as
Okay.
to how it was looking.
Okay.
And it seemed less itchy. So that was around the holidays now. And so I actually was quite happy over the holidays, because I thought, you know, that I was...
My rash is
my rash is
getting
on the
better.
mend.
All right.
Our anniversary is on December 31st, and I
Oh.
thought, oh, we'll have a nice time. So we celebrated over
Okay.
the holidays.
All right.
Well, after that, then all hell broke loose.
Okay. When you
Yeah.
say all hell broke loose, I guess you're meaning the eczema got worse.
Yes.
Can you tell us when you started to take the 5 milligrams of prednisone for 15 days?
Yeah, I wrote it down on December 14.
You started, so you ended on December 29th or
Around
so.
there, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then about when did the eczema explode?
On January 1st, all my medication was done.
Okay.
Okay, and I started to see some bumps coming up.
Okay.
Now, in areas which I didn't have bumps before. So these
Mhm.
are fresh bumps.
Okay.
And they were appearing now on the left side of my torso and on my chest.
On your chest also.
So
How were the ones on your back?
still bad. Now they were starting to get red again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then what did you do at that time?
You know, I was trying everything. So I had a friend who was an acupuncturist,
Okay.
and I went on January 2nd because she
Okay.
was closed on January 1st.
All right.
And so
Otherwise, you would have gone.
I would have gone. I would have been
Okay.
there. And so I went on January 2nd, and I never had acupuncture before, and I, did a little bit of research, and everybody assured me that it's been thousands of years of, proven that it would help my eczema.
All right.
I didn't know it
All
was
right.
eczema then. I didn't, know
Yeah,
what it
your
was. I
rash.
just called it hives then.
What did your dermatologist call it? She
had
didn't know
no
what
clue.
it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
She had no
Okay.
title for it, so
Okay.
I didn't have a title for it.
So basically, in medical terms, eczema is a general term for red, bumpy, lumpy, raised skin that may ooze or weep.
Mhm.
Such a general term.
Mhm.
So I'm surprised she didn't
She
call it
actually
eczema.
did say she was treating me for eczema because that's all she could think of.
Okay,
She
okay.
didn't recognize it at all.
All right.
And, so.
Like what type of eczema?
Yeah.
There are several types.
Mhm.
Atopic dermatitis being the most common, but let's go on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So January 2nd, I went for my acupuncture.
Okay.
Right? I was very hopeful, very
Mhm.
hopeful. And on January 3rd, it looked like, the way I describe it is like I was in an off commercial and somebody forgot to spray me. And, and I was just attacked. I mean, it was everywhere. It was almost as if the acupuncture let loose all the things.
top.
And I doubt that's what happened,
Yeah.
but that's what it seemed like
You're
because
right.
the timing was. And so I was just at my wit's end at that point. I had no idea what was going on. I was trying to justify it. Was it that I was detoxifying now because of the acupuncture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I thought I would just wait it out a little, thinking that it would get better after a week or so, but it didn't. It just kept getting worse and worse.
Okay. And then what did you do at that point?
I went to a Chinese doctor.
You went to another Chinese doctor?
I did.
Oh, okay, okay. You are determined.
I was determined. I went to a Chinese herbal doctor
All right.
in Chinatown.
Okay.
A real Chinese doctor.
Okay.
Who I could hardly understand. And he gave me this.
You wanted to go authentic now.
I did. He gave me this foul tasting tea and this foul smelling tea that he gave me these herbs in a bag, a brown paper
Okay,
bag,
okay.
and I had to boil it for a few hours
All right.
and then drink this thing 3 times a day. And I think I did that for about 5 days or so, and it didn't make a whole lot of difference to me.
Okay.
I was still pretty miserable.
Okay, so it didn't get any better? Or
Maybe
worse?
we better,
better?
but not
Okay.
not enough to.
I guess at this time you gave up on the dermatologist?
I did.
Okay, all right. So would you, and for the listening audience, you won't be able to have an idea of really how bad it was, but for the TV audience, we're going to have pictures of Fran's eczema for you to look at. But at its worst, how bad was it? Which areas was it covering? And
The
how did it
only
look?
area it did not cover is probably easier for me to tell
Okay.
you. The only area that it did not cover was my face. It was under my bangs and everything, so it was on the periphery of my face.
Mhm.
But if I wore my hair, my bangs down, you could not even tell. That's why a lot of people didn't even know I had it because I was covered up all the time.
You were wearing long sleeve shirts?
A long sleeve. Thank goodness it was during the winter. I would
Mm.
have been miserable if it was the summer.
Right.
So my face and the front of my shins.
Okay.
Yeah, everywhere else,
Else
it was
had the eczema on
had
it.
eczema on it.
And how did it look?
Pretty wretched.
All right.
How would I describe it? It was no longer like mosquito bites. Now it was just one huge welt over my entire body. It was just one huge welt.
So a swollen,
yes.
red,
Mm-hmm.
weeping?
No, I
Not
had no
yet?
weeping.
Okay. But itchy.
Very itchy.
Okay.
Very bumpy.
Fran, what a lot of people who have never had eczema, they cannot understand the itch of eczema. the intensity of the itch. Can you try to describe how itchy it is?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And my husband reminded me that it did look like I was severely burned.
Okay.
That's what it looked like. The itch was unlike anything I had ever felt in my life. It was a deep, deep, deep itch. It felt like I was itching from the inside out, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah. So the scratching.
There's nothing I could do.
The scratching didn't
Nothing.
quench the thirst of the itch.
Uh-uh.
So you just, in fact, typically when you scratch, you feel like the itch is getting more intense.
Yes.
So you scratch more.
Yeah.
At this time, I'd like to introduce your husband, Joseph. Joseph was right there on battle lines.
For itching or worse.
Yeah. Joe, can you share with the listening and the viewing audience what the eczema looked like?
Well, I do recall specifically on the back, her back, where she couldn't see it, and I was applying the lotion for her. It, as she said just a minute ago, it really looked like a burn, like a severe sunburn, to the point where the sunburn develops like, welts or something.
Right.
That's what it was. It was a dark red.
Bad sunburn.
It almost turned to red to reddish brownish color at its worst. Yeah.
And that's basically how it looks, though, because it will look bright red, like somebody's skin has been severely sunburned. But on top of that, there's going to be the bumps and the itch. And
it was really thick, too. The skin got really thick.
Filled with serum that I guess wasn't being released out of your skin quite yet. A lot of my patients who have severe eczema, what they mention also is that they have great difficulty in sleeping.
That was impossible.
Impossible to sleep. Why?
Well, I don't think I slept more than 10 minutes at a time. The itch was just never ending. I mean, I would get up and actually go to the freezer and get ice cubes out of the freezer and go in the shower and just rub it all over my body just for some relief. I mean, I went through bottles of calamine lotion and everything, and it just never stopped. It never stopped.
It never let up.
Never let up.
In fact, a lot of patients say it seems to worsen at night when they're trying to sleep. Same for you.
And it was a crawling feeling, not only itching but crawling.
Like a sensation that things are crawling on your body? Yeah.
Yeah.
Joseph, would you mind sharing a little bit about how it was at night for your wife and you?
Yeah, well, I recall, I think she was scratching so bad and almost subconsciously. She'd be scratching in her sleep. I mean, that's how that I would notice, and I was almost, sometimes in the middle of the night I'd tell her, don't be scratching because you're just going to irritate it worse, but she couldn't help
herself.
It was just something that it was beyond. I felt so sorry for her because I was helpless. There's nothing I could really do except apply the lotions, and even then, applying the lotion, I was afraid that when we would apply that was even causing more irritation, because we'd just be putting more lotion on to try to relieve the itch, and yet that would, I wasn't sure if this was actually creating more irritation in the skin or not by trying to do this.
Right,
So it was like a catch-22. You don't know if you're doing the right thing or whatever, and so it just, it was very, very difficult to be there and not be able to help her and watch her go through this.
All right. Fran, you were at your worst. Why did you choose to come in and see me, and how did you find out about me?
I go to a church where one of the members, we actually put out a prayer request because it was just at that point where we had no idea what to do. So one of the members wrote to me and said, "Fran, I know this guy who had what you had for 10 years. Now, I was suffering it for like 6 months, and I just couldn't imagine that somebody lived with it for 10 years. But he said, why don't you want to see his doctor? Here's his website. And so he gave me your website, and I looked it up, and I looked up his friend's story, and I said, yes, that's my story. And so I had Joseph take pictures of me, and I wrote this long email to you, and I felt it would be helpful if I gave you the timeline so you knew what I had attempted to do prior to seeing you. And the one thing we didn't mention was that I also called my OBGYN, thinking it was hormonal.
Oh, okay.
You know, because I'm at that age right now, you know.
This is part of going through
Yeah,
that
so we
phase.
did. Yes.
No, it's not, right?
And she told me it was all in my head, actually.
Okay.
So I didn't even go in to see her.
All right.
But so that's when I asked you if you would see me, and you did, and I was so grateful that you did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did I say was causing your eczema?
What did you say was causing it? You said that it was likely that I had a candida yeast infection that that was trying to escape, you know,
Was
the
making
body.
the toxins.
Yeah, and you told me that there were several ways that it would try to, you know, release the toxins, and mine was trying to be released through the skin, which made so much sense to me.
And that's typically, according to the type 3 immune system response, typically the skin is the first site that the immune system will release these toxins. So, like I was mentioning at the beginning of the program, prednisone, being one of the more powerful immunosuppressive drugs, is going to stop the immune system from removing toxins out of the body. So what happens if the immune system stops removing toxins out of the body? The toxins start to build up inside the body. And that's why typically we expect over time a flare-up to occur, where more toxins are going to be coming out of your skin. And that's what you experienced when you took the 5 milligrams of prednisone over the 15-day period. It did start to suppress your immune system. But when you stopped taking the prednisone, what happened? A couple days later, you had the big flare-up. And that's what we had to address for you.
Right.
Could you explain to the listening audience and viewing audience what treatment I recommended for you?
Yes. Actually, the treatment that you recommended was an anti-candida yeast diet.
Okay.
And it was cutting out all sugar, all wheat, all dairy, all soy. So I can know all of this by heart already. my list is a tattered list in my purse.
Flipping through the pages.
No
for the last few
vinegar,
months.
no fruits, no any kind of sweeteners at all. No nightshade vegetables, no starchy vegetables, no white rice, and none of those things.
No potatoes.
No potatoes.
So it's not an easy diet to go on, but a lot of people might be wondering why this diet. And the main reason why is that yeast, when it develops in the body, eats simple carbohydrates or sugars, and that's what it feeds on. And if you feed yeast food, sugars, what happens a few hours later? Just like you and I, we're going to make waste. Unfortunately, the waste the yeast make is going to end up inside that person's body in the form of a toxin that the immune system removes with that type 3 immune system response out of the skin. So we have to stop eating foods that the yeast like to decrease the amount of toxins that are being made in your body. And we also gave you some supplements too. The supplements targeted the yeast systemically, as well as we gave you some supplements to put the good bacteria back into your body. All right. Was the diet hard to do?
For me personally, no.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well, we gave up soy and dairy, and I gave up most grains a long time ago.
Okay.
So, so that wasn't difficult for me. And soy, wheat, and dairy. We gave that up a long time ago.
Did the treatment make sense to you?
Yes,
It
perfect sense. In fact, the one thing that I was so appreciative of when I went to see you was that I consider myself someone who's educated, okay?
Intelligent,
thank you. And I appreciated that you took so much time, that you weren't like, I have 10 minutes with you, and here's a shot, or here's a pill, go on your way, and come see me in 2 weeks, and I don't know what's going to happen to you, but just do this anyway, okay? But you actually took out your medical books, and you explained it to me, and that just made so much sense to me, because I could visualize what was going on in my body. I could also visualize what was going on after, when I was on the diet.
As you were getting well.
As I was getting well.
All right.
Yeah.
So the medical books that I brought out and we looked at was the Textbook of Medicine, as well as immunology textbooks to explain that type 3 immune system response, so you knew I wasn't just making all that up,
Right.
what I just said
Right.
earlier on this program.
Yes.
Okay, we put you on this treatment, totally unconventional, right? We're changing your diet. We're going to have you stop eating sugar to treat the candida that way, so that candida starves over time, and also we decrease the amount of toxins that they're making in your body. We're also eliminating foods that you could be potentially sensitive or allergic to, like the wheat or gluten, dairy products, corn, soy, tomatoes, eggplant, bell peppers, yeast, a few others. What happened, or what did I tell you to expect after the first visit?
Well, you know what we forgot to say is that I had a cortisone shot. I had a cortisone shot.
That's an important fact
We
that we
did,
left out.
yes.
When did you get the cortisone
Actually,
shot?
it was the day that I saw you.
Oh, that's right. So you went back to the dermatologist?
No,
or
this
your
now is
internist?
my internist.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a cortisone shot is basically prednisone on steroids, right? It's a super strong steroid. So you were taking oral prednisone before, which is strong. And a steroid shot is, you magnify that by 10 or 50 times.
Right. So you told me that it was going to get better because of the steroid shot, right? And you also told me to expect a flare-up anytime. You said it could happen a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So I knew that, and knowing that really empowered me to not be afraid when it happened. I mean, I was freaking out the first time because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
But the second time it happened, and it was just as bad. The flare-up was just as bad. I was not. I just waited it out. I knew it would pass.
Can you tell the audiences, when you had that flare-up after the steroid shot, which areas of your body was affected, and how bad did your skin look?
It was all the same areas. Again, it was my torso, my back, my arms, my neck, my scalp. Behind my legs was really bad.
Okay.
Really, really bad.
All right.
Yeah.
When did you flare up about?
Oh, it was about 2 weeks later after
2 weeks
I saw
later?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then what happened after that?
Well, I mean, I was strict on the diet from the day one.
You were.
I was.
You did it perfectly.
From day one,
Okay.
because you told me that maybe I could minimize the flare-up by being strict on it, and so I was all for that.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I didn't cheat once at all.
I'm sure Joseph can verify that.
I can totally vouch for that. She was very, very disciplined.
Were
amazingly.
you shocked that she was so disciplined about her diet?
No. She's a disciplined person, so it didn't surprise me. But to know the kind of agony that she had gone through, that to me, the fact that she was so disciplined, just even reinforced in my mind what she had been through to be that strict. Because that she was not going to want to go through this ever again. So but like she said, we have a pretty good diet as it is, and so it wasn't a big challenge.
Change.
It wasn't a big change, but the fact that she didn't cheat at all was just, she was very, very strict.
Even on my birthday. No.
Did you ask me if you could cheat?
I did. I said, can I have ice cream? And you said no.
Doctor's so mean.
Yeah.
All right. After you flared up 2 weeks after you started the treatment with me, what happened a couple, 3 weeks after that? So this is about 4 to 5 weeks into your treatment.
It was actually getting better. It was getting better. Yeah.
All right. In about a month after you started with me, you got about 60% improvement. How did that feel to you at that time? And
I was really hopeful. I mean, I was really hopeful.
This was a reversing trend.
Yes, and you told me it was going to take pretty long, like 6 to 9 months. But, I thought maybe I could make it faster.
So that's why you were perfect with your
Yes.
diet. All right,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Would you describe how you were improving during the first 2 months of treatment?
It was steady. I mean, it really was steady. And like I said, I used Joseph as my gauge. You know, I'd ask him to look every day and say, well, does it seem better? All I know is that the itching was less intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I still had it, and certain times of the day it seemed to be worse than others, but it wasn't like 24/7.
All right.
I was actually getting some sleep, and
Okay.
you know, I was actually able to exercise again, at least some.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So the eczema was getting much better,
Yes.
and the itch was really decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in your mind you were thinking,
I was
"Yeah,
on the
I'm
mend.
on my way."
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
All right. A lot of people are probably wondering, you know, we put you on this strict diet change, and they're wondering, okay, what were you eating for breakfast,
I know
lunch, and
people
dinner?
would ask me that all the time. Well, you don't get to eat anything.
We
Well,
just eliminated
I
everything from
know.
your diet, basically, right?
But actually, no, I was fine. I first of all, I have no problem eating the same thing every day.
Okay, you're like me.
I just
You
want
don't
to think
care.
about it. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. So really, most of my breakfast, and even now, is a brown rice cake and almond butter.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
All right.
with almond
I
milk.
guess you ended up liking that.
I do. I liked it a lot. And
Most
so-
people do.
Yeah.
You know, they end up liking brown rice cakes with
Uh-huh.
almond butter on
Yeah.
it.
Or
All right.
I would even eat a salad. Or
For breakfast?
For breakfast.
Okay,
Or I
okay.
would eat brown rice and maybe some vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you eating at lunchtime?
Always a salad. You know, I
Okay.
could have turkey, so I had a huge salad.
Okay.
And I just cut up turkey and cucumbers and celery and carrots, and my dressing was Bragg's liquid aminos, love
Okay.
that stuff, and some olive oil.
You can also eat things like lau and turkey
Yeah, but I didn't
bacon,
know that
turkey
until-
sausage. I didn't tell you.
I didn't know that in the beginning,
Okay.
but after
Uh,
you told me that, then I was like, oh,
all right,
lalo and
okay.
poi.
So you're eating those kinds of things.
Yeah, chicken lalo.
Sashimi and poke.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Sometimes
Alright.
when we, you know, I mean, it really does affect your social life.
Oh, yeah.
So when I did get, you know, invited to go out, a lot of times that's what I would have is sashimi. As long as they had sashimi on the menu, I was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can go.
Yeah.
I won't starve.
Right.
All right. After about 3 months, how was your eczema? What was going on with your skin at that time? Would you describe it for the audiences?
All I remember now, 3 months from there was around April. It just kept getting better and better and better, and I don't know exactly.
I
Let's see.
can maybe comment on from what I could see on her backside when
Okay.
I was the one applying it. What began as very, very red and bumpy and, you know, like I said, a severe burn, the redness initially began to fade, and it began to turn into more of a brownish color, you know.
I mean, you know, I should know these things, that there's diet is related to how the body functions. I should know these things, but to see it actually, you know, happening and manifesting itself in my skin that was so visual
Mm-hmm.
was really something.
Isn't it something else? Your
Yes.
human body, the human body's just amazing how
Mhm.
it will correct a problem
Mhm.
if you give it a chance.
And not only that, I mean, I have so many friends now that, you know, I mean, they saw how bad it was, at least on my arms and the stuff they could see, and they saw it healing, you know. At first they were like, oh, poor Fran, she can't eat this, she can't eat that, and whatnot. But as they saw it healing, they saw that it was working, and now they're trying it, because it's amazing how many people have eczema, you know.
Yeah, eczema is the most common skin affliction to humans, or to Americans at least.
Mhm.
On average, let's say about 10% of the human population
Yeah.
walking around out there with eczema.
Mhm.
Most people have only a small patch here and there,
Mhm.
not enough to create enough fear,
Mhm.
yeah, to create desperation, I guess.
Right.
And when you were talking about, or Joseph was talking about the desperation,
Mhm.
that's typically who, among my patients who do better, patients who are
Right.
very desperate,
Mhm.
because then they will follow the diet to the T.
Right. It was actually beyond desperation. It was teetering on depression.
You were becoming depressed.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because my business is fitness.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't do what I love to do.
Yeah.
And I had no explanation.
Of why
Yeah.
your skin was,
Right.
one, getting bad, and I guess two, why the medications weren't working.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Okay. What would you like to say to anyone who suffers from eczema today?
Don't use steroids.
Okay.
First of all, say no. Just say no, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Of your medical doctors?
Yeah, your medical doctors, and don't just take their treatments without. If they seem to not know what it is, I wouldn't just take the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. You gave your testimony at your church
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say during that testimonial?
Well, my testimony was about people rallying around you. Really, that's what it was about. But I was grateful that my brother church member thought of me enough to recommend you to me, and that was, to me, that was the most wonderful thing. It was the most wonderful gift anybody could have given to me, because people could have just said, "Oh, poor Fran," and not helped. But
Yeah.
that helped me, and now I have sent so many patients to you, because I know that you can help them. So I did share. I shared about my depression, and I shared about how helpful it is to have support.
Yeah,
So.
very helpful.
Mhm.
I'm sure Joseph is really helpful in
yeah.
supporting you.
He's been through this with me. Poor thing.
Step for step.
Yes.
I don't want to mention names though, but you did refer quite a few friends
I did.
to me. How are they doing in general?
My one friend in general she's fabulous. I mean, she's fabulous. She looks great. She feels great. She's happy because, and it was just on a fluke that I even mentioned to her that I was going to see you, because nobody could see it. Nobody saw my eczema. She didn't know I had it, but I just shared with her that I had gone to see you, and she said, "I have that too." And so she started seeing you about 2 weeks after I did. And so she's now in the point where she's starting to test food, and she's thrilled. So she's
I'm
thrilled.
sure she's happy.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Joseph, what do you think about naturopathic medicine now? I don't know if you knew of it before. Any thoughts from you?
No, well, although I had not, Fran was the one obviously who pursued you on her own. I've always endorsed, I guess, a natural way of healing if possible, rather than drugs and so forth. So that's just the philosophy I always had. I wasn't sure, as far as the testing, so how will we? There were so many questions, and Fran probably remembers this, that I wasn't sure. Well, how will we know with the lag time between when we take a food out, put it back into your, to your diet, and then what its effects are, if it's really happening or not. But to answer your question back on the naturopathic, I think for those of people who are wanting instant gratification, instant cures, the naturopathic way is something that is a healing process. It takes time, and you have to be patient. And that to me is what's so wonderful about it, because the body will heal itself. You just have to be patient about it, because that's the way the body heals. And so I fully endorse it, and I recommend it for anybody who's looking for, in this case.
You both had a first-hand look at how the human body heals itself.
It's wonderful.
Amazing. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in and joining us. Fran and Joseph, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story with us on Olelo Television.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed the program and learned something of value. I hope you continue to tune in and look for Island Wellness on Olelo Television. My name is Dr. Jason Uchida. Good night.